welcome Dr. Nadia Sethi, ALS TDI's Director of Community Outreach and Engagement.
Hi, everyone. I know we're running a little bit behind schedule, so I'm going to try to be brief and still cover everything I wanted to. So before we start, Lori Larson yesterday was telling Alan and I, she was asking us who was going to do a better job today. So if Alan did a better job, make sure you let him know. And if I do better, make sure you let Fernando know. So when I got in on Wednesday night, I was looking around and I was reminded that 20 years ago, I moved to Boston with my husband as a newlywed, and I was just a new dentist at that time. And I attended my first Yankee Dental Conference at this hotel, actually, 20 years ago. And here I am talking about ALS. And sadly, it's because I lost him to ALS a few years ago. But it's my honor to be here and to work with the ALS TDI team. And I'm really, really excited to share with you today something that we've been working on since I started at ALS TDI 2 years ago. So we are creating a trial finder, and I'm going to be sharing a little bit about that today. So ALS Trial Guide, this is going to be a set of tools for the ALS community to learn about and view comprehensive information on research opportunities around the world. So everything that you heard about today has to do with the research that's going to make our clinical trial pipeline stronger. But we don't know if those drugs are going to work until they're tried in people, right? And so we are looking for a way to create a tool that's going to help make information about clinical trials more accessible to the community, more easy to understand, and we're hoping to handhold and teach people as we're doing this. Why would ALS TDI take this on? Well, somebody needs to keep track of everything that's happening around the world, and we're a good place to do that. And this is a way that we can help solve ALS. This isn't just providing a service to the community. This is a way of making a difference in ALS and helping to make the research go faster. Participating in research is one of the most impactful things that somebody with ALS can do. And it's one of the biggest ways that we make a difference within ALS as the patient care, as the patient community. On the left side of this slide, I have 3 words: engage, educate, empower. So I've been involved in a lot of different projects around ALS since my husband was diagnosed in 2019. One of my favorite people, Lori Andre, and I have worked on many projects together, and engage, educate, empower was always kind of our mantra. It was something that she came up with, and that's something that weaves its way throughout this tool. We're hoping to bring people in, give them information, and then empower them with that information to make good decisions about their health. So what are some of the issues that we see with finding clinical trials right now? Well, I talk to a lot of people, and sometimes this process goes well, and they're getting information from their clinics, and sometimes it doesn't always go well. So these are some of the things that I've actually heard from people who've gone through ALS, right? Sometimes they're told just to simply go to clinicaltrials.gov and take a look and sort through the information. Sometimes people are presented only with local options, what's happening in their area, but they're not hearing about other things that might be happening that they might be interested in. There's also sometimes when there is more limited research options at a particular facility, people are often told to go look somewhere else. One of the things that I've heard from somebody's experience was they heard from their neurologist, "Oh, this trial is still enrolling. I had people who wanted to be in this." These kinds of things really shouldn't happen. We shouldn't be making choices. Your doctor shouldn't be making choices for you. It'd be best if they provide you with the information so that you can go make informed decisions about your care. And that's kind of what we're hoping to do with this tool. So I have a screenshot of clinicaltrials.gov here, which was revamped this year, and it's kind of driving me nuts. I'm still used to the old, what's called the classic version now, but it's out there. But we're trying to make this information a little bit easier for people to digest and have a discussion with their doctor. So this has been a collaborative effort from the ground up. We've been working on this for well over a year now. I'm going to kind of go in starting at the bottom here with ALS TDI web team. So I got introduced to the ALS TDI web team earlier this year, and we do not speak each other's language. They're very, very smart, and now they can tell you what an open label extension is and what an open label trial is and what expanded access means, but I still can't really understand how they do what they do. They're pretty amazing, but they've learned a lot of things about clinical trials, I think, this year that they might probably never wanted to know, but they've done an incredible job of bringing this tool to life. Our Marcom team has worked also very closely with me on this project. John Gang, who is emceeing this event, has been in charge of the ALS TDI trial finding tool for the last few years, and he's been absolutely incredible. We've got some wonderful people on that team. We've also worked closely with Pat Dolan, who was mentioned earlier today, and the ALS mappers and his group called Esri that develop software for mapping many, many things, but they've done a wonderful job in mapping many things in ALS world, and we are collaborating with them closely to bring maps into this tool so people can really see visually where the research opportunities are available. We are also working with clinics to get their feedback to make sure that this tool is accurate and easy to understand and potentially easy to use. And most importantly, we have worked with a lot of people with lived experience to really bring their experiences into this process, and they've really driven so much of the content that we're sharing. So as far as the people with lived experience, we put together a group called the ALS TDI discussion panel, and they've helped with more than one project in the last couple of years. And we recruited people to this panel through people that we've known through ALS TDI. We also worked with the NEALS ALS Research Ambassadors, and this is a group of advocates who are trained in clinical research and just kind of how to navigate research, how to understand a paper, how clinical trials work, how the research process works. And so we brought in people who have gone through that program to help advise us on this. And then we've also looked to social media. I know social media doesn't have a great rap, but I've made thousands of connections on social media in the last 4 years that I've been in ALS land. On Facebook, I met one of my first ALS families that opened so many doors to me and introduced me to other people. And aside from my introvert support groups, ALS is all I do on Facebook and Twitter also. I have met some incredible advocates who've given us a lot of feedback for this tool. What kinds of things are we learning from people with ALS? Well, what kind of language to use? What needs to be included and what shouldn't be included in this tool? What do we need to highlight, right? What are people's priorities as they're looking for research? We are also trying to understand, people learn in different ways, right? I know I have to look at things more than once to learn. I know I need to look at things in different ways to learn. And so we've talked to people about what helps them learn and how they process information. One of my favorite things has been eye gaze adaptation. So we've worked with people who are using eye gaze to understand better how to make this tool accessible to them. And our web team has been amazing. For a couple weeks, I was going back and forth with them, trying to figure things out. And finally, our web team came back and said, well, tell me what software people are using, tell me what devices people are using, and maybe we can find a way to detect that somebody is using eye gaze when they visit this tool. And so I'm just really excited to see what comes out of all of this. All right, so our discussion panel includes many amazing advocates that you may know. There are lots of people who are not listed on this slide because I didn't get permission from them, but so many people have been involved in this. This crew has also helped with our ARC revamp. They've helped me in so many ways. When I started at ALS TDI 2 years ago, I didn't understand a lot of what we were doing. And so I have learned alongside this crew how to communicate what ALS TDI does, and I'm really proud of them. So how does this tool look? Well, we're looking for 3 ways to let people find information about clinical trials. Probably the one that's going to be most used, my hope, and the most innovative is to get this personalized list of ALS trials. So we're putting together kind of a questionnaire, a guided questionnaire that will teach people and handhold through the process, but walk them through a series of questions where if they answer those, then at the end they should get a list of trials that would be more specific to them. And then we also have an option to view a map of the world and find research opportunities that way. We will also have a list of all of the global clinical research opportunities that people will be able to browse through. One of the questions I've gotten many times over the years, because I have this weird obsession with knowing every single clinical trial that's out there, is how many trials are there in the US? How many are there in the world? How many seats are there in clinical trials in the US or globally? And so we're going to have those numbers available on our website readily so that I'm not having to calculate things at the last minute before somebody's presentation. But for advocacy purpose, this is a very useful number. So in the last 4 years, we know that there's been probably around 3,000 interventional seats in clinical trials around the world, and there's about 300,000 to 500,000, we don't even have an accurate count of that, people with ALS around the world, right? So there's a small number of seats that are supporting all of our treatment pipeline for the next few years. It's being supported by this really small number of clinical trial seats, but it's impactful for advocacy to know that. And so we're having that readily available, hopefully, coming soon. We have a guided questionnaire, so I'm going to talk you through some of the different tools that we have here real quick. And so people will be able to answer the question. You can see at the bottom we have a number of trials, and you can click on that at any point, and you will go to a list of what's coming up at that point in time. So as you progress through this, you will see this number drop and change. You can see all of these little question mark icons, so we are explaining to people what these things mean along the way. This is one of my favorites, so we kind of explain in this box here. People can enter their vital capacity score, and they can actually watch the number of clinical trials change, right? This is a really, really important learning opportunity for people who are interested in understanding what's out there for them. And then we also have some questions that might not make a change. So we have this one on, are you currently taking off-label medications or supplements for ALS? So many people with ALS do this, right? And this particular question is it's not going to change that number of trials that's available to somebody, but it's here primarily to teach people that, look, you might not be able to continue to take this supplement regimen if you choose to enter a clinical trial. We've also explained some terminology like open label extension. So this was something that was really confusing to me. I was immersed in ALS advocacy for a very long time, but it took me a long time to understand that data collection continues, right? When a trial is done and you have the chance to access a drug through an open label extension, data collection continues. And so you might still not be able to take those supplements. So we explain all of these things along the way. I'm trying to give people the tools that I didn't have and other people I know didn't have, so that they can have a better chance in their ALS. At the end of this questionnaire, you'll get personalized results that you can then take to your doctor and discuss. You have the chance to go back and change your answers in the questionnaire. If you choose, you can also create a login, which I thought we had a picture of, but I'm not seeing it right now. And you can bookmark these trials to your personal page and come back for future reference. And it will store all of the questions that you answered so that if there's new trials that fit your criteria that come up, those will also show up then in your personal portal. There's the personal portal. We'll get back to that in a minute. There's also the option to browse clinical trials through another tool. So this will show everything that's happening globally. We have broken this down into interventional, observational, and symptom management. So there's 3 different categories that people will be able to filter through, and then we've created a whole set of filters so people can not only see what's available, but also quantify. So there will be numeric values next to a lot of these things so that we can understand how many of those there are out there. So here's a clip of the personal portal, which people can bookmark their trials to. And then you can see that we have little bubbles that will highlight particular trials that might not have a placebo. That's a question that we get very, very often. And it's a fear that keeps people out of clinical research at times. And so making this information kind of easy to process and readily available is what we're trying to do here. All right, and then I wanted to give another shout out to Pat Dolan and the Esri team for helping us create these amazing maps that will be integrated throughout the tool. So when people get their personalized results, they'll also get a personalized map that will show the locations where their clinical research opportunities are available. And then we also the global map to show kind of what's available around the world. How are we going to curate this information? So this is tough because clinicaltrials.gov listings are not all the same. Not all trials will ask for the same inclusion or exclusion criteria. And not all of the listings are structured in the same way. Our web team has done an incredible job of pulling a lot of information automatically from trial registries. But in addition to that, there will be some hand curating that we will do on a daily basis. So right now we have about 700 trials to go through that are already in our database. And so we are working our way through those. But as new trials come up, realistically, there's probably a few a week that will come up that we will then add the information on the back end. So what makes this different? Well, this tool is built from the start with guidance from people living with ALS and advocates. The personalized results that we're offering to people make it different. The curation of content definitely makes this a little bit different than just going to a registry like clinicaltrials.gov and taking a look at things that are out there broadly. And then the learning component. So we're trying to teach people along the way. I think some of the other things that set this apart are the personalized search, the fact that we are including observational studies, expanded access programs, symptom management trials. That also makes this very different. And then we have a new and good problem. We've got so much learning about genetics in the last few years, and so we are trying to build that into this tool as well, right? We have studies for gene carriers now. We even have a clinical trial for people with pre-symptomatic SOD1 right now, and so we're trying to build this tool to prepare for the next ones of those that are going to come onto the scene. And so that's all I have for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out anytime. And I'm here today, tomorrow. Come find me if you have ideas or if you want to be involved. I'm here for you.